daring to criticize their government. That's American. That's what we do in this country. We criticize our government. We're allowed to do it. Will Trump still allow us to do that? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, he was president for 4 years. Did he stop you from doing it? Do you people have brains at all? Honestly. You people. Amazing. My friend Vinny D in Chicago is sending me amazing stuff from the Chicago Sun-Times. Mayor Brandon Johnson names chief equity officer, gets ball rolling on reparations. And the new chief equity officer play a big role in determining what reparations will look like in Chicago. And the mayor there, Brandon Johnson, he wrapped up his address by saying, God bless the blackest city in the world. Blackest city in the world. And they had the Chicago Sun-Times, they spoke to a former Chicago alderman, that's a city councilman, Roderick Sawyer, who was, he created the reparations subcommittee in the city council when he was there. And listen to this. He said, I keep pushing for reparations. I keep pushing. I've been pushing on this for years. I'm going to continue to make this an issue. If we do it correctly, we will see a corresponding drop in criminal activity, which makes it clear that it's a shakedown. It's a threat. It's be a shame if something happened to your city, you know. But if you fork over a bunch of cash, a lot of money, you give me reparations for something done by other people to yet other people, and I'll stop shooting you. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, that's it. That's what he said. Reparations, and there'll be less crime. You want less crime? Hand over the money. Reparations in Chicago. It's funny, I woke up this morning thinking, do I owe somebody money? I was like, search me. Man, just amazing. Isn't that amazing? That makes it clear that it's a shakedown, nothing but a shakedown. Isn't that true? Yes, it is. Just extraordinary stuff. There's a wacky story out of Texas because they have some Democrats there now. Texas Democratic commissioner candidate charged with fabricating fake online racist messages. You know, the Democrats are. They're the, Jefferson Davis and Nathan Bedford Forrest and Jim Crow. Orville Faubus standing in the front door at Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas. Sheriff Bull Connor, all Democrats. Man, oh man. The Democratic challenger for the Fort Bend County Precinct 3 commissioner in Texas is facing charges for allegedly creating fake social media posts, writing racist comments directed at himself. At himself. See, he's self-loathing. It's pretty amazing stuff. Isn't that amazing? Commissioner Andy Myers, the Republican incumbent, requested the Fort Bend County District Attorney Office begin an investigation into the social media post directed at Taral Patel, presumably Indian name. His opponent, ABC 13, reported the local ABC station. Now, Myers, the Republican, requested an investigation after Patel, the Democrat, posted a statement last September with screenshots of various racial hate comments. Many of the usernames were concealed, but Myers, the Republican, said he recognized an account named Antonio Scallywag, as someone who had attacked him before. You see, investigators found the fake account used a photo of someone else and issued a subpoena to Facebook and Google. They were able to obtain data that matched Patel's address, the Democrats' address, matched the Democrats' phone number, matched the Democrats' driver's license number. the bank card number and personal information. It's like Austin Powers and the Swedish penis pump. Honestly, one credit card receipt for a Swedish penis pump signed. Honestly, these people are ridiculous. So the Democrat, Patel, had set up fake accounts and he attacked his Republican opponent, Andy Myers. And then he started attacking himself with the fake account because, why? Because there is no status more exalted than that of victim. You get to be the victim if you attack yourself. Say, oh no, my name is Patel, and mean racists are attacking me in Texas because I'm running for office, and I'm a Democrat. And it turns out that the hate crime was perpetrated by Terrell Patel, who is the Democrat running for office. And isn't that amazing? And they identify Andy Myers as the Republican, and they identify Terrell Patel only as his opponent. But isn't it interesting? They don't want to say that that he's the Democrat. Isn't that amazing? Your Democrat Party media. It is so good to be a Democrat. And then they got whether Republican or Democrat, such tactics should be unequivocally condemned by all who value integrity and accountability in politics, says one person, the GOP chair there. But the news article from the local ABC does not, in the body of the story, identify Patel as the Democrat, only as the opponent of the Republican. The news media tongue bath, the fluffers that they are, the gangsters of lies that they are. Aren't they amazing? But that's a great story too. The Texas Democratic commissioner, and you could read the whole story and say, well, what is the guy a Democrat or is he not? Tell me, what is up with that? I am telling you. Yes, sir. It is good to be a Democrat because they get away with this stuff. Isn't that true? Yeah. Also, it's pointed out, Mayor Brandon Johnson, God bless the blackest city in the world, Chicago, right? Not Ouagadougou, not Nairobi. Those aren't the blackest cities. Chicago is said it's the blackest city in the world. I don't think that's true. I grew up in, the North Shore of Chicago. I don't think that the truth is that Chicago is the blackest city in the world. And Scott sent that along. Really, blackest city, not Nairobi. I prefer Ouagadougou whenever I use an example out of there. Yes, sir. Just amazing people we have out there. The Democrat Party is mentally unwell. That's for sure. Now, speaking of black voters, we weren't really speaking of black voters, were we? On CNN, they're freaking out because Donald Trump is doing, they would say, surprisingly and unusually well as a Republican with black voters who are moving more and more to Donald Trump and away from Joseph Robinette Biden, who didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle, and he's the author of the crime bill that put more black people in jail for doing cocaine than white people, while his son was running around doing cocaine and all that stuff. But on CNN, they had a moment when their polls guy, whose name is allegedly Harry Enton. Harry Enton. That's not a very good name, is it? Harry Enton. You've got an Enton on your neck. Should have that removed. It's getting hairy. You've got a Harry Enton on your neck. But he was standing there with John Berman and the CNN anchor. And Harry Enton was calling up the big screen, and he's using his green pen, and he's drawing circles around the bad poll numbers for the Democrats with the thing, because, they don't like that at all. And Harry Enton is circling this stuff, and they got black voters, Biden versus Trump, and the margins. And black voters under 50 who love Biden in 2020, under 50 years of age. In the year 2020, when Joe Biden won, he had 80+% of the black voters under 50. Now he's got 37% of black voters. That is an enormous, gigantic drop, right, of like 43%, more than cut in half. The black support of black voters under 50. Black voters over 50 in 2020 had 83% of that. Now he's only got 74%. So that's a drop of 9% in black voters over 50, and a drop of 43% black voters under the age of 50. And so Harry Enton was having a panic attack, and John Berman was standing there with his mouth hanging open like Joe Biden.
Look at black voters under the age of 50. Holy cow, folks. Holy cow. Look at this. Joe Biden was up by 80 points among this group back at this point in 2020. Look at where that margin has careened down towards. It's now just, get this, 37 points. That lead has dropped by more than half, Mr. Berman. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless.
He's like speechless. I'm like speechless. He's a professional broadcaster there on television. And he's wearing the same suit that Obama and Biden were wearing, with the dark blue and a white shirt with a point collar and no tie. They're all wearing the uniform. It is a cult. It is, honestly, it's Jonestown on television. And on MSDNC, they had Sig Heilemann. Sig Heilemann was on. I can't believe that guy's still on. They still got Sig Heilemann. Man, and it's he was ahead of the curve on hating the Jews, though, wasn't he, with being named Sig Heilemann and everything. I think his real name is John Heilemann, but we call him Sig because it's more fun to call him Sig Heilemann than it is to call him John Heilemann. But he was on MSDNC. He was on Morning Joke, and with Mika and of course Mo Yarborough. Very disturbing people. And then, boy, he's talking about how terrible Trump is going to be when Trump comes back to the White House. He's going to be shooting people and using the guillotine.
Let's imagine he's just blowing off steam. He's saying, you know, if we could find that leaker, I'd like to take him out of the back of the White House on the South Lawn and have him shot. When he's frustrated, when he's blowing off steam, again, to use Barr's formulation, is someone whose way in which he exercises his frustration is to casually talk about having people who work for him shot, executed in some way. Well, I don't know if that's by hanging or by a guillotine or by the firing squad.
Yes. Yeah. Now they have these fertile imaginations like little children smoking good dope, and it's pretty amazing stuff. It's going to shut. Now, the Obama administration used the FBI to go after leakers. He said somebody leaking BS, most of which or much of which was false out of the Trump White House, and a leaker. And he said, I'd like to take him out and have him shot. Now, that's a very common turn of phrase in the United States and Western world. He should be shot. He should be, that's the thing. And I went and grabbed video of the Democrats in front of the Trump White House with a full-size guillotine and a person playing the role of Donald Trump laying down in the guillotine, and the crowd cheering that they're going to guillotine Trump, and they were lefties. Now, Democrats are the ones shooting everybody, and the Obama administration used the FBI to track down leakers and charge them with crimes. That was all perfectly normal. The news media said, oh, sure, they always use the FBI to track down leakers and charge them with crimes. And they spied on the Associated Press in Washington, their headquarters, and on Capitol Hill. They spied on James Rosen of Fox News and his parents. They got warrants, who live in New York. They got warrants to spy on James Rosen and James Risen, no relation, who was at the New York Times at the time. The Obama administration abused the Justice Department, the FBI, and warrants to find leakers so they could punish them. And President Trump didn't shoot anybody. You guys have shot like 50,000 people since then, though. But never mind that. On Morning Joke this morning, they had ramen. I love those ramen noodles. That was his name. They had ramen, and his name is Satuda. Ramen Satuda was on, and he's, I guess, a reporter. and he met Donald Trump and interviewed him. And then like 6 months later at Trump Tower, he ran into Donald Trump again, and this happened.
As the journalist who spent the most time with him, I have to say he couldn't remember things. He couldn't even remember me. We spent an hour together in 2021 in May, and then a few months later, I went back to the White House. I went back to Trump Tower to talk to him about his time in the White House, and he had this vacant look on his face, and I said, "Do you remember me?" And he said, "No."
And he said, "No." Well, I'm sorry, you're Raman Satuda, and you say you're a reporter, and he says, I spent an hour with him, like in a room full of people, and maybe you did a sit-down interview with him, but I've never heard of you, so I doubt you got a 1-hour sit-down with the president. And months later, how many months, Raman Satuda? How many months later? So he met the president of the United States, and months later, he met him again. And now we got to take Raman Satuda's word for it. And I said, do you remember me? And he said, no. So he gave you a truthful answer, an honest answer. Maybe you're not very memorable. I've never heard of you. Or if I have, I don't remember having heard of you. Maybe you're quite unremarkable. Let's ask, that woman over there. Let's ask her. In 2021, he met him, and then months later, he met him again. And see, that's on MSNBC, that's proof that Trump can't remember stuff. And that's their response to Joe Biden and his brain problems. Denver is a city in Colorado. It's the Mile High City. Denver has more than 300 marijuana shops. More than 300 marijuana shops. Some neighborhoods, there are neighborhoods now in Denver that have so many marijuana shops that the city is stepping in to stop more from opening up in certain areas. Sure, top 5 Denver neighborhoods have 52 pot shops. For comparison, there are a total of 50 Starbucks in all of Denver. 300 marijuana shops, 50 Starbucks in Denver. They're doing a heck of a job. They're very good. A stoned voter is a Democrat voter. Am I right about that? I think I'm right about that. That's what they love. They love stoned voters. Isn't that amazing? I've got plenty more. San Francisco. There was a funny debate in San Francisco in the mayor's office. You know, because they got London Breed there. London Breed is falling down, and there was a little back and forth. And there was the Drag Queen Challenge, in San Francisco. That's coming up. Boy, I tell you, I'm talking to people all over the place today. Lots and lots of people. Bump stocks. The Democrats don't know anything about bump stocks, but they don't know anything about firearms. They don't know anything about the Bill of Rights. They don't know anything about war and peace. Let's face it, they really don't know anything. I mentioned San Francisco before I get to Cori Bush, because turns out she's a faith healer. Anybody remember Ernest Angley? Ernest Angley years ago was a televangelist who would slap people on the forehead on television, and they'd fall over, and then they'd be cured of whatever it was. And I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in faith. I don't believe that Cori Bush is the new Mother Teresa, however. And we'll get to Cori Bush in just a moment. But let's go first to San Francisco, where they have a mayor who is a woman, and she goes by the name London Breed. London Breed is a whack job, of course. She's a left-wing Democrat, radical extremist, and they're having a competition, an election, and London Breed was there for the debate with a bunch of people. I assume they're all Democrats and communists or something, but London Breed was putting it to one of her opponents, Nicole Breed, and she's putting a question to the other Democrats up on the stage. And you got to prove yourself in San Francisco if you want to be the mayor of what used to be a wonderful city and is now a pustule on the buttocks of humanity. And here's London Breed setting up for failure one of her male opponents in the mayoral race.
You were at the Harvey Milk LGBT Democratic Club and couldn't name any LGBT advisors to your campaign. You were at the debate last week and couldn't name any drag queens on your own.
What?
I was wondering if you could, this is an opportunity to redeem yourself.
Redeem.
And if you could name 3 LGBTQ advisors for your campaign and 3 drag queens in San Francisco.
Beep me. That
is one.
Wow. During the San Francisco mayoral debate, London Breed exposed another candidate by asking him to name 3 drag queens in San Francisco and 3 LGBTQ, could they be IA, advisors on your campaign. And because you were at the Harvey Milk Club or something, Harvey Milk was shot and killed by a Democrat member of the city council there, Daniel Young. I'm not sure. And Harvey Milk, they made a movie about him because the guy went there to murder the mayor, Moscone, murdered Mayor Moscone, and on the way out the door, the Democrat member of the San Francisco City Council stopped and killed Harvey Milk, who was a city council member who had picked up a young underage boy, a homeless boy, off the street and brought him home and made him his sex slave. And that was okay because Democrats do that sort of thing. Underage boys, homeless, sleeping in a doorway of a business, bring them home, have sex with him until you get shot by another Democrat who's on the city council who was actually there to murder the mayor and then killed a city councilman as an afterthought. And he becomes the hero because he's gay and Moscone was not gay. Dan White. Daniel White was the killer. That's amazing. So there it is. Name, you ain't nothing if you can't name 3 drag queens. It's a challenge match when you're running for mayor of San Francisco. And they turned Harvey Milk into a hero. He was no hero. But in Democrat circles, being, a gay child rapist gets you halfway there. Now, name 3 drag queens and 3 LGBTQ advisors to your campaign. But I only have 2. Wow. Isn't that amazing? All right, now let's go to, that's Democrat San Francisco. Now let's go to Cori Bush, because Cori Bush is a squad member of the squad with AOC and some of the jihadis, Ilhan Omar, and they got a lot of jihadis. They hate the Jews, don't they? What's the matter with them? The Jews are not their friends, and they are not the friends of the Jews. Just amazing stuff. So Cori Bush, she announced that she's apparently got a book of some kind too. I wonder who wrote it. Amazing stuff. And she did an interview, Cori Bush did, where she said that she has healed people by the laying on of hands. She has laid on hands. We did the story on my Newsmax show last night at 10 p.m. also. Jesus Christ himself healed the blind and made the lame walk, the Son of God, the Savior. And Cori Bush, she's got more. Now, here is Cori Bush doing a crazy interview on PBS, Panhandler Broadcasting. We pay for it, and they're all getting rich off of it. And it's a propaganda outlet for the Democrats, and the Republicans need to stop funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Sesame Street is a $1 billion company. They'll do fine without taxpayer subsidies. Congresswoman Cori Bush on PBS talking to Margaret Hoover about she, like Mother Teresa, like Jesus himself, going down to the poor, the homeless, and the laying on of hands, a woman covered with tumas. Tumas. It's not a tuma. It's a tuma. And Cori Bush, Congresswoman, she's a woman of color. She's a Democrat. She's a leftist. She's a radical. She believes that she's a healer. And she told Margaret Hoover on PBS, who was sitting there gobbling this all up like she's in the presence of greatness. Just amazing stuff. And she heals the homeless, makes their tumors disappear beneath her hands.
You're a pastor.
Yes.
You write about healing through faith. At one point, you came across a woman with, quote, several visible tumors on her torso.
It's a tumor.
Tell me what happened.
So at that time, I, along with a group of friends, we would go out on the street.
You would.
And just meet with people and pray with people and offer them food. And this lady came to us and she had these tumors. I mean, she wanted us to like feel them. And I just remember I put my hand on her and my hand just began to move. And the lumps that were there were no longer there. And she was so happy and she like went on about her day.
The tumors were gone. They disappeared beneath her hands. She is a miracle worker. She is Annie Sullivan. We should have her lay hands on Joe Biden's head. Lay her hands, take both of her hands and grab Joe Biden's head because the New York Post today, squad member Cori Bush, just amazing, claimed she miraculously healed woman with tumors in bizarre resurfaced TV interview.
It's not a tumor.
See, I told you it's not a tumor. Missouri Democrat Representative Cori Bush from crime-ridden St. Louis doubled down on her bizarre faith-healing claims in a TV interview, including how she cured a woman's tumors simply by putting her hands on them. The far-left squad member said in her little-known autobiography in 2022 that she performed several miracles. I think the Pope needs to come visit her. Maybe she could go to the Pope, as he's not as young as he used to be, and he's a socialist, but as the religious faith healer, and then made similarly strange assertions in an interview with Margaret Hoover on PBS, and claims that only recently surfaced and went viral because they didn't want to embarrass her. Just amazing stuff. Well, with a group of friends on the street to just meet people. And she says she's a minister, but Al Sharpton's a minister too. So I don't believe every minister that calls himself a minister. Boy, one woman who had met several visible tumors on her torso, I laid hands on her. I felt that my hand was no longer touching a tumor. It shrank along with the others on her body, is what she said. Isn't that remarkable? Just, she should heal the world, I think. You know, she's got a lot of stuff the world needs a lot of healing. We're going to need Cori Bush. Isn't that amazing? Margaret Hoover of PBS.
So you think the tumors disappeared?
I do. And this woman was unhoused. She's someone who...
She was unhoused.
Had been sleeping in the shelters and sleeping on the street. If I can speak a prayer, and I can believe what I believe, and you believe that this will help you, then why not offer that to people?
Yeah, I would think so. If I could go around and touch people and cure them, I'd say, well, why don't I do that? You know, honestly, it reminds me of The Exorcist. It's, like Christ the Lord compels you throwing the holy water on Reagan as she's flailing about in the bed. These people, can I just say these, can you say these people? Also, listen to this. She said, we got one more of the Margaret Hoover of PBS, and it was a secret until now.
What do you say to people who are likely to disbelieve that story?
Die.
They're not the woman that had the tumors.
That's probably true. That's true. She, it's quite amazing. This is amazing stuff. Now, honestly, we were talking about it last night, and she on Newsmax, on my Newsmax show, and it's like she's like, Jesus could make the blind see and heal the lame, but Cori Bush is like, hold my beer, Jesus. Watch this. She also said that she encountered a child The child had a bleed in her brain shortly after she was born, and so couldn't walk. She had never taken a step in her life. "Walk," I said gently to the 3-year-old girl. "You will walk." And the girl took her first step, and then another, and another. She walked. Now, this is literally Jesus-like power, where this is in the Bible, Jesus was able to do this, and now Cori Bush. So fast forward 2,000 years, and we got a Democrat congresswoman from Missouri who may be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ himself. And the woman was unhoused. She was unhoused. Did you give her a cardboard box or anything like that? Because that's it. So she is a faith healer, the likes of which Ernest Angley could have only dreamed of becoming.
It's the power of Christ that compels you.
It is.
The power of Christ.
It is. She should be exercising people, this Cori Bush, Congresswoman Cori Bush. Isn't she amazing? Boy, oh boy. Also, let's go to this bump stocks, because these people are out of their mind. I was with you when the Supreme Court, here live on the air, when the Supreme Court ruled that this ban on bump stocks, a device you can use with rifles when you're firing, and it kind of helps with the recoil and reload. And most people don't use them, almost nobody uses them. But the Supreme Court said the ban on bump stocks was no good. She's a no good. So they got rid of the ban on bump stocks. And on MSNBC, they don't know an AR-15 from a bazooka, from a B-52, honestly. What's an A-10? It's the Thunderbolt. It's an attack plane, the Warthog. Never mind that. What's an AR-15? They don't know. They have no idea. But here's MSDNC, and they got their boy Jose Diaz-Balart on Father's Day weekend. They're talking about all the Democrats that are shooting people across the country.
This morning, cities across the country reeling after a wave of gun violence this Father's Day weekend. At least 5 people were killed, 55 others injured in 9 different mass shootings between Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, now a mass shooting is when a Democrat shoots at least 4 people. And we had like 4 of them last week in Washington, D.C. None of them were mass shootings like school shootings or grocery stores, just the usual Democrat Party stuff. There was a thing, it was a Juneteenth party in Texas the other day. Over the weekend, 9 people were shot, including a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old or something. 2 kids, 9 people, and all Democrats. It's Juneteenth, celebrating the holiday a little early, like Joe Biden. So there's Jose Diaz-Balart with all these, and they don't tell you what a mass shooting is or anything, but like that. And then they go to MSNBC fake news reporter Aaron McLaughlin.
The weekend shootings come just days after the Supreme Court struck down a Trump-era ban on bump stocks.
Having nothing to do with anything.
Accessories used to modify semi-automatic weapons so that they can fire faster.
So that and what would that have to do with Democrats shooting 4 people at a time across the country? Absolutely, it comes days after the Supreme Court. They just think anything should, because they're so ignorant. They're so dumb. Aaron McLaughlin.
Now, to our knowledge, no bump stocks were used in any of the shootings over the weekend. But experts say if they had, those shootings would have been so much worse.
They talked to experts who said those shootings would have been so much worse if they had had bump stocks in those many mass shootings over the weekend. Yeah. Yeah, sure. That's probably what's going on. I got an idea. Democrats should not be allowed to own firearms. If you're a registered Democrat, now honestly, in Chicago over the weekend, where they're looking for reparations, and if they get reparations, there'll be less crime, according to an African-American alderman. It's a shakedown. It's a gun to your head. We've got a very corrupt Democrat Party here, and very violent. Over the weekend in Chicago, at least 71 people were shot, 9 fatally. From Friday to Monday across the city of Chicago, according to ABC News in Chicago. 71 shot, 9 fatally. I don't think a bump stock was used in any of those. Let me delete, I don't think. There were no bump stocks used in any of those. You know what were used? Democrat brains. You know, my beer, I've been drinking ultra-right beer that I get from my friends in Atlanta, ultra-right beer, because I stopped drinking Bud Light, right? So now I get cases of ultra-right beer, and it's been my favorite go-to. It's better than Bud Light. It's Bud Light and better. And they have great cans with Donald Trump mugshots on the alternate, the revenge beer. That's fun. I've got so much to talk about. I wish I could stay another hour. Right now, we've got to take a phone call, and we don't have a lot of time for that. Let's go to Frank calling from Ashburn, Virginia. Frank, I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to squeeze you in here.
Just real quick, how you doing, Chris? Thanks for all your great work. I listen to you every morning and watch you every night. Keep up the good work. Thank you for loving America. Just a thought. We want to decrease gun violence. How about when you catch a guy doing something bad, you put him in jail instead of releasing him on the street? I think that'll have a far greater reach into cutting down crime and shootings than eliminating bump stocks. Just a thought.
That is racist. That is clearly racist, Frank. That's the problem with that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's a new arrest in New York, an illegal alien suspect arrested in the sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl in a New York City park, now in NYPD custody. As a result, the Democrats want to defund the police again. Thank you, Frank. I think you might be onto something. Also, we had a caller, and I didn't get to him. We had a caller hanging on the line. He dropped off a couple of minutes ago. He said, you know, not all stoners are Democrat Party voters, and I wanted to talk to him.